Ntuba, the chief editor of Health and Development magazine, and we are at the NLG Conference Center as part of the OTC or Offshore Technology Conference 2023. And with me is a very distinguished, successful African surgeon in the United States. Sir, can you introduce yourself?
My name is Dr. Oke Harold Odocha. I'm a transplant surgeon and general surgeon, and I'm glad to be here to this OTC conference to discuss issues relating to health and safety and environment in Nigeria, where I am from. Thank you.
The African Forum took place and it was part of the regional discussions like South America, Asia. And during the African Forum, they had discussions on Africa and particularly leadership. Some said leadership was going on, and you are one of those who spoke from the floor. What was said right or wrong about that?
Well, it was interesting being at that forum because a lot of issues were discussed from countries that are in the oil gas business, including Senegal, Ghana, Nigeria, and I think Tanzania.
Yes.
Is that Tanzania?
Yes, Tanzania.
Yes, and my takeaway from that discussion, especially as it relates to Nigeria, was that a lot of things were being done in the Niger Delta area, and there's the Petroleum Industry Act that was put together by President Buhari's administration, and they put forward this idea that communities called host community development fund, trust fund for the communities will be 3%. The communities had requested 10%, but they gave them 3%, and also made it clear that those host communities will be responsible for addressing some of the damage that were done to the pipelines. And to me, this just did not make sense, because those communities have no resources, they have no structure, they have no organization to take care of these issues, and may not even know who the perpetrators of some of this damage to the pipelines are. So I felt that measure was not right, and that even though it is in the act, that should be readdressed, because they were punishing the communities for problems that they had nothing to do with. Those pipelines were laid by the government. They did not take permission from the communities. They felt that that's where they should pass through. And if there's any protection to those pipelines, it should be the responsibility of the federal government. That's one. Number two, I felt that the leadership in Nigeria that addresses problems with oil and gas industry have missed the point regarding addressing some of the problems in Port Harcourt, where there is problems with pollution, and also issues with damage to crops and wildlife, and fish and wildlife, and contamination of the rivers, making farmers in those areas to become indigent, creating poverty on top of poverty. And I felt that the oil and gas industry should address those concerns. And right now, the flare that goes on in Port Harcourt is still going on over the past 60 years. And Shell and BP were responsible for those issues, and they're not doing anything about it right now. And I think they just want to go ahead and pay the fine or the taxes, but not really address the issue of those flares, because they are causing environmental damage in Port Harcourt, as well as in other parts of Imo State and River State.
The World Health Organization, headed by an African for the first time, Dr. Tedros, has been looking at climate change and climate and health and related things. They work with experts, experienced medical personnel like you. If you are called upon by the WHO to contribute, to be part of committees or panels to address these issues, what are you going to say as you are beginning to also extend your work into environmental health, climate, and migration?
I definitely will 100% be willing to participate in any committees or subcommittees that is set up by the WHO to address this matter, because I come from Nigeria, and there are many other parts of the world that deal with issues of oil exploration and development of petroleum technology. Oil and gas has been contributing a lot to improvement of lives in many parts of the world. Many people have been made rich by this industry, but we cannot forget that they've left footprints that are destroying the climate, destroying part of the agriculture and wildlife and many people living in those areas. So as we transition into lower carbon emission technologies, it's planned to at least decrease it by.
You say you work with Prime Energy Resources, so just tell me in a few seconds what you guys are doing in this area of reducing carbon footprints.
Well, at the moment, what we do is we are environmental remediation services.